What if I told you that the retirement industry has been selling you an overpriced lie for decades, and the smartest people are literally sailing away from it? Right now, thousands of retirees are ditching the dusty assisted living facilities, the sky-high mortgage payments, and the soul-crushing sameness of suburban retirement communities, and they are choosing to live full-time on cruise ships instead. Search engine optimization experts will tell you that retirement planning is one of the most searched topics on the internet, and yet nobody is talking about the strategy that is quietly blowing every traditional option completely out of the water. We are not here to sell you a fantasy. We are here to hand you the raw, unfiltered, dollar-by-dollar breakdown that the retirement industry absolutely does not want you to see. Because when you stack full-time cruise ship living against the real cost of assisted living, independent retirement communities, and home ownership in your senior years, the numbers will make your jaw drop. So if you are serious about retirement, if you are tired of being told your only options are expensive, boring, and depressingly predictable, then buckle up, because this changes everything. Before your landlord starts sweating any harder, let us talk about what is hiding inside that cruise price tag. Because this is where the math gets almost offensively good for the retiree doing their homework. That $1,000 to $2,000 per month figure is not just a roof over your head floating on salt water. It is an all-inclusive lifestyle package that would cost you a small fortune to replicate on land. We are talking about 3 meals a day plus snacks in multiple dining venues, which the United States Department of Agriculture estimates costs the average retiree anywhere from $400 to $600 per month in groceries alone, not counting restaurant meals. Stack on top of that your electricity, water, internet, gym membership, entertainment, and the kind of on-site medical staff that most retirement communities charge a premium to provide. And suddenly, that cruise rate is not just competitive, it is practically aggressive. A comparable independent living retirement community in the United States runs anywhere from $2,500 to $4,000 per month. And that is before you start adding amenity fees, dining packages, and the privilege of paying for parking in your own building. The cruise ship is not selling you a cabin. It is selling you an entire operating budget disguised as a vacation. And for retirees who actually run the numbers line by line, the reaction tends to be somewhere between stunned silence and immediate Google searches for passport renewal. Let us get one thing straight before we go any further. If you are still assuming that retirement means a quiet house in the suburbs and a fixed income that somehow stretches to cover everything, the numbers are about to slap you back to reality. Assisted living costs across the United States have already blown past $3,500 to $6,000 per month. And before you ask, no, that is not some premium white-glove facility. That is the flat-out average. Meanwhile, retirement-friendly cities like Phoenix, Tampa, and Scottsdale are pushing one-bedroom apartments to $1,700, even $2,200 per month. And that price tag does not come with food, utilities, or a single ounce of care included. Stack that against the average Social Security check of roughly $1,800 per month, and congratulations, you have just discovered the retirement gap that nobody in a suit wants to talk about on television. Millions of retirees are quietly running the numbers and realizing their so-called fixed income is getting absolutely crushed. That is precisely why strategies like full-time cruise ship living are no longer the punchline at the dinner table. They are the smartest conversation in the room. Here is the question that is breaking the internet right now. What if everything you thought you knew about retirement living was completely wrong? What if the most luxurious option on the table is actually the cheapest one? We are talking about full-time cruise ship living versus traditional retirement housing, and the numbers are about to hit you like a freight train. Forget the tired, outdated advice about settling into a retirement community or locking yourself into a long-term lease. Savvy retirees are cracking the code, and the financial case is so airtight it almost feels illegal. By the time we break down all 5 pillars of this cost comparison, monthly cabin fees, food and dining, healthcare access, entertainment and lifestyle, and hidden fees, you are going to walk away either booking a cabin or seriously questioning every financial decision you have ever made about retirement. So buckle up, because this is not your grandmother's retirement plan. Well, actually, it might be exactly that, and she is probably having the time of her life somewhere in the Mediterranean right now. Now let's go deeper on what actually drives that cabin cost number, because the range is wider than most people expect. A standard interior cabin, meaning no window, no natural light, sits at the most affordable end, often dropping your monthly cost closer to $1,500 or even lower on longer contracts. Step up to an ocean view or balcony cabin and you're typically looking at $2,000 to $3,000 monthly. Suites can push well beyond that. But here's where it gets genuinely interesting for serious retirement planners. Cruise lines like Storylines and Villa V have built residential-style packages specifically engineered for full-time living. These are not vacation bookings. They are long-term lifestyle contracts, and the per-night cost drops considerably the longer your commitment, making the math look very different from a standard booking. Now let us talk about Pillar 2, and this one genuinely surprises most people when they see the numbers laid out clearly. On a cruise ship, meals are almost entirely included in your base fare. Breakfast, lunch, dinner and late-night snacks are all covered through the main dining room and buffet options available every single day. Compare that to the average retiree living independently, who spends anywhere from $400 to $600 per month on groceries and dining out combined. And that figure does not even account for something most financial calculators completely ignore, which is the hidden cost of meal prep time and physical energy. For aging adults living alone, planning, shopping, cooking and cleaning up after every meal is genuinely exhausting. On a cruise ship, that burden simply disappears entirely. Now, to be fair, not every meal on a cruise ship is automatically free of extra charges. Specialty dining restaurants, alcohol packages and room service can quietly inflate your monthly spend if you are not paying attention. A retiree who orders wine with every dinner or books the steakhouse 3 times a week will absolutely feel it in their wallet. However, here is the key insight. A disciplined retiree who sticks to the main dining room and the buffet can eat remarkably well, with full variety, hot meals, and 0 cooking required, all within the base fare. Compared to spending $400 to $600 monthly on groceries, dining out, and the physical energy of meal preparation, this pillar scores as a genuinely strong financial win for cruise ship retirement living. Now, let us tackle the pillar that stops most retirees cold: medical coverage. Cruise ships do maintain on-board medical facilities, and they are genuinely useful for minor emergencies and routine concerns. But here is the critical truth. These facilities are not a substitute for comprehensive health care. They are designed for stabilization, not long-term treatment. Here is what catches many retirees completely off guard. Medicare, the program most Americans over 65 rely on, does not cover you at sea. The moment that ship leaves United States territorial waters, your standard Medicare benefits essentially vanish. That means any significant medical event on board or at a foreign port becomes an out-of-pocket expense unless you have additional coverage in place. This is where supplemental travel insurance or expat health plans become absolutely non-negotiable for full-time cruise living. Now, let's put real numbers on the medical pillar so you can stop guessing. A solid travel health insurance plan for a retiree aged 65 to 75 typically runs $150 to $300 per month, depending on your coverage level, deductible, and provider network. That sounds significant until you compare it against what assisted living facilities actually charge. Most people do not realize that assisted living base rates rarely include everything. Medical monitoring, medication management, and clinical check-ins are frequently billed separately on top of your monthly room cost. When you add those line items back in, the gap between cruise ship living with supplemental insurance and assisted living with full medical services starts to shrink considerably. The playing field levels far more than the brochure pricing ever suggests, and that changes the entire financial conversation. Now, let us put the full framework setup comparison on the table. On the cruise side, you are looking at roughly $1,500 to $3,000 for your cabin, near zero for meals within the base fare, and $150 to $300 for travel health insurance. That brings your total monthly cruise estimate to approximately $1,750 on the low end and $3,300 on the higher end. On the assisted living or rented apartment side, you have $3,500 to $6,000 for housing, $400 to $600 for food, and additional medical monitoring fees on top of that. The cruise option clearly wins on total monthly spend at the lower tiers, breaks even around the mid-range, and requires trade-offs only when you are choosing premium suites or specialty add-ons. Now here is where the numbers alone cannot tell the whole story. Full-time cruise living comes with real lifestyle trade-offs that deserve honest scoring. There is no permanent address, which affects banking, voting, and your sense of rootedness. Storage is extremely limited, meaning most of your belongings get sold or put in a unit. The majority of cruise lines do not allow pets, which for many retirees is genuinely non-negotiable. And perhaps most significantly, you are physically distanced from children, grandchildren, and longtime friends for extended periods. These are not small inconveniences. Missing a grandchild's birthday or being unreachable during a family emergency carries emotional weight that no financial model captures. Score these trade-offs honestly against your personal values, because retirement quality of life is ultimately about more than monthly savings. Now let us flip the conversation entirely, because the trade-offs we just covered only tell half the story. Cruise living comes with lifestyle dividends that most retirement options simply cannot match. Zero home maintenance, no utility bills, no property taxes, no surprise repair costs eating into your fixed income. Beyond the financials, you gain a built-in social community that combats one of retirement's most dangerous threats, which is isolation. Entertainment, fitness classes, lectures, and live performances are included in your base fare. And here is something genuinely compelling from a health perspective. Research consistently shows that exposure to new environments, novel experiences, and continuous social engagement keeps aging brains sharper, more adaptable, and more cognitively resilient over time. Assisted living facilities rarely deliver this combination at anywhere near the same level. When you score these as real lifestyle dividends, the cruise option starts looking significantly stronger. Now here is where things get really interesting. Many financially savvy retirees are not going all in on full-time cruise living. Instead, They are doing 3 to 6 month cruise stints combined with house sitting, staying with family, or renting short-term in lower-cost cities or countries. Think about what that actually looks like in practice. You spend 4 months cruising, 2 months house-sitting in Portugal, and a few weeks with family during the holidays. When you run the annual numbers through our 3-pillar framework setup scoring system, this hybrid model consistently delivers the strongest overall score of all 3 options we have compared today. It captures the financial wins of cruise living while eliminating the lifestyle trade-offs around permanence, storage, and family proximity. This is the retirement strategy that the spreadsheet actually rewards most. Now let us put this framework into action with 3 concrete steps. First, pull your current monthly retirement spend across all 3 pillars: housing, food, and medical. Get exact numbers, not estimates. Second, contact at least one long-term cruise package provider, such as Storylines or Villa V, and request a formal quote for a 6 to 12-month package. Third, run the 3-pillar framework setup comparison yourself using the real numbers we walked through today. Place your current costs on one side and the cruise living costs on the other. Do not skip the medical column, because that is where most people are surprised. Once you see the actual totals side by side, the answer becomes clear. The math will tell you honestly whether full-time cruise retirement is a fantasy or a genuine financial upgrade worth pursuing. Full-time cruise ship retirement is no longer a quirky internet story circulating on social media. It is a legitimate, numbers-backed financial strategy that thousands of retirees are already using right now to live better for genuinely less money every single month. You have seen the 3 pillars. You have seen the side-by-side comparison. You have seen where the cruise option wins, where it breaks even, and where the real trade-offs live. The math does not lie, and neither does the lifestyle upside. If this framework opened your eyes to a retirement option you had never seriously considered before, hit subscribe, because we break down retirement money decisions exactly like this every week. And drop your single biggest question about cruise ship living down in the comments below. We read everyone.